Welcome all to the Pro Football Radio Podcast. This is your co-host Jay Chima with the pride and joy of Merrimack, New Hampshire, the Puma. Welcome in, brother man. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Jay. I'm doing good. It's the best time of the year. We survived everything. We are now at week 1. We survived training camp and OTAs and all that stuff. It is time to light the candle in the season, and I can't wait, Jay. It's the best time of the year. Let's go. How are you doing, good sir?
I was doing great until I see that your wife is basically taunting us in the comments. You know, like I thought Tara and I were cool, and obviously, you know, I'll just put the comments up. Look at this, and then look at this right here. We know you're not excited, Tara. We know you're taunting us. Okay, we know you hate football.
She's coming around. She's coming around. She, you know, it's slowly but surely. You know,
Yeah.
she has to deal with my sports nonsense. So yeah, it's kind of picking up. You know, baby steps. Rome wasn't built in a day, Jay.
I like it. All right, man, you ready to do like this bad boy?
Let's go.
All right, week 1, NFL kickoff. Lions traveling to Kansas City, defending champs, getting their rings, dropping the banner, and here comes Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. Who do y'all win this game, Puma? And I got an upset for you guys here.
All right, here we go.
Little tease.
Here we go. So, I mean, I know where you're going with this. I mean, right now the over/under is set at 54.5. The spread is Kansas City minus 6.5. I mean, to me, I think the Chiefs are going to win at home for a home game. I mean, the clear strength, though, and I'll say this, like the Lions do have a puncher's chance. And the reason why they have a puncher's chance is because of how good their offensive line is, anchored by Frank Ragnow. The Chiefs, they're probably not going to have, you know, Chris Jones unless he decides to end his holdout. And, you know, he's been racking up like $2.5–3 million worth of fines throughout the entire training camp and OTAs because he wants a new contract. But the Lions have a puncher's chance because of the offensive line. Their X factor is obviously going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. I would expect to see him, you know, the rookie running back. He was taken 12th overall, I believe, out of Alabama. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Alabama, yes, sir. You remember how excited they were? Remember how excited they were in the draft when they took Jahmyr Gibbs? I remember Dan Campbell actually almost like you did the chest like bump to
bit someone's kneecap off.
I mean, he basically did.
But I mean, him and I think it was like the general manager, the assistant GM, like they were losing it in the war room. But I mean, rightfully so. This kid looks like he's a jack of all trades. He's fast as the wind, and you know, with only Amon-Ra St. Brown as like the viable pass catcher on that team, like there are going to be targets to give out to the running backs and Jahmyr Gibbs. I believe the Lions led the league last year in passes to running backs with, you know, DeAndre Swift and even Jamal Williams from time to time, even though Jamal Williams was more known for his goal line work, getting 17 touchdowns. But the other person I'd like to keep an eye on is like that rookie tight end, like Sam Laporta. Like a lot of buzz going in was he's kind of like a George Kittle-esque type of player, you know, blue collar, hard hat wearing type of dude at the tight end position. I mean, he's going to be involved in the war. I mean, it's really only Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jameson Williams isn't going to be there for 6 games because of the gambling suspension. I believe DJ Chark was injured. So like there is going to be targets to be had. Amon-Ra St. Brown's also going into this game dinged up with an ankle injury. And the Chiefs are going to, you know, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I mean, it's Travis Kelce, you know, Sky Moore's been getting a lot of buzz at camp. I think he's going to fill that Mecole Hardman role. But long story short, I have Kansas City winning this game. Betting perspective wise, I am not touching the spread because Kansas City never covers the spread ever. And if this was like 7.5, then I would probably go on the line side. But I don't think we're going to see that unless you're going to bet it live. Over under, I'm probably going to stay away from it in this game.
Yeah. Listen, I think I'm speaking from a place of just pure Chiefs hate right now. You know that, right? I always wrap my mind around, hey, you know, I can be fair and balanced, but in reality, I'm picking the Lions to win simply because I hate Mahomes. Like I hate him so much. You know this, right? I hate him, hate his stupid family, hate his stupid son. I'm sorry, hate his not his son, his stupid brother.
Hate the newborn. Jesus.
Hate the wife, hate them all right? They're just so despicable, all of them, right? So because of that, I'm gonna pick the Lions. Now, if I was to be, fair and balanced here, I do believe that the Lions can go point for point with him. Like I believe Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, he was up for a couple of different head coaching gigs this year, just because people are blown away with how innovative his offenses are. So ultimately, it does suck that Jameson Williams isn't there for those guys, because you can really use the firepower, but I do believe that this is going to be one of those games where Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be featured, just because he's the kind of back that can catch out of the backfield, can block, can run. So there's a couple of different things that they can use in their tool chest when it comes to Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, in regards to the Chiefs themselves, I mean, what's the latest with Jones? Is he supposed to be showing up for camp? Is he still like waiting for that new deal? From what I understand, they're fighting over $9 million. Like apparently it's a principal thing now for Jones. They offered him, I believe it was $27 million a year, in total $54 million. He wants 63, right? Fully guaranteed. So looks like they're about $9 million off in regards to money, but it really will help them quite a bit if they are able to get Jones in the building, signed, sealed, delivered, and ready for the game Thursday night. But at this point, I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either. That's why I say, because of how good the Lions' offensive line is, they have a puncher's chance in this game. Like that is going to keep them alive in this game. And, you look at what Jared Goff did last year. He had his third best career year statistically, especially since he left the Rams, because of how good this offensive line is. But if I had to put odds on it, man, like I'm not holding my breath on Chris Jones being in there. And now it's kind of interesting, because now you have like Mahomes and Travis Kelce. And Travis Kelce just likes to talk and put his foot in his mouth. But like now you start having like players starting to comment on other players, pockets and money. Like when I was at the gym and I read like the Travis Kelce comments, I'm like, oh, like that's interesting. Like now you're getting involved in like your teammates' business. Like normally, like you steer clear, you deflect, you don't answer those type of questions. But no, you're kind of leaning right into it. So that's going to be a little interesting in the locker room to me.
Well, even Andy Reid's like press conference was a little dismissive when they were talking about Chris Jones. Like he almost gave the vibe like, yeah, it'd be nice to have him, but like we'll be fine if we don't have him, right? So I wonder like if there's any like bad blood between the Chiefs and Chris Jones, because now, like just like you mentioned, players are kind of like talking about somebody else's contract. I bet you internally the Chiefs are feeding them stories of, hey, we're trying to get this done, but he's, so far, he wants to have 63 million instead of 52 million or whatever the number is. Like, I think it's a principal thing now. And I think the Chiefs are probably trying to quote unquote save face in the locker room, right?
Exactly.
Now, the one person I do want to keep an eye on for the Chiefs is Kadarius Toney. I do believe, if he's healthy and right, like that guy can be an absolute stud in that offense. Now, obviously, health is a massive issue for the first couple of years of his career. So, if he comes out healthy and they utilize him, I would even consider stashing him on your roster, on your fantasy football roster, just in case he kind of pops off and you have a viable wide receiver one, in my opinion, down the road.
Yep, exactly. Him, Sky Moore, even Justin Ross, he was getting a lot of buzz at training camp too. I mean, it's hard with like these receivers because it's really just Travis Kelce, and then everyone else like may have like a spike week, but no, Kadarius Toney for sure.
All right. You ready to move on to the New England Patriots?
Jay, I'm gonna let you take the lead on this one.
Okay, all right.
So the next game is the defending NFC champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, traveling up to Foxborough. I believe it's also newly renovated Foxborough. They redid the lighthouse out there.
Brand new lighthouse, yeah.
Brand new lighthouse. They redid logo.
The lighthouse is so big and tall, you can see both you can see both Boston and Providence from the top of it.
Wow, look at that. Renovated lighthouse. They're also going to be doing like a little honors ceremony for Tom Brady, going up to Foxborough to play the New England Patriots. The line on this game, depending on what book you look at, is Eagles -3.5 or -4, and the over/under is 45. Jay, you take the lead, sir. Talk to me about your Pats going against the NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles.
I've been saying this for 2 or 3 weeks now, and I know you're annoyed of it, but you heard it here first. The New England Patriots are beating the Philadelphia Eagles. All right. I am saying this. I'm not saying that the Patriots are a better team than the Philadelphia Eagles. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the Patriots are going to catch them slipping. Super Bowl hangover, coming off week 1 on the road. You're going to probably roll the Patriots, is what most people think, right? I'm just saying. You
say that, but you put this up. Like, what do you?
I forgot this is the media package that I was using. It's the wrong one. My bad. Let me get the right one. This is the right one.
You say this, you got crying back
It's
Jones.
It's not any better.
Joys of live YouTube. This is fantastic. But go on, Jay, with the crying back Jones.
What I'm saying is, I do believe the Patriots can catch the Eagles slipping and napping. Looking forward to the home opener. I am somewhat excited about this offense for the Patriots. I know it's not saying a lot to have a functioning offense with Bill O'Brien now that he's the offensive coordinator. I understand, Joe Judge and Matt Patricia last year were running a high school offense, but I do believe we're going to be able to put up 21 to 27 points consistently this year. Last year we couldn't even put up 17. And I do believe this defense for the Patriots is going to be top 5. They're going to cause all kinds of issues. The only way that I can see the Eagles beating us is if, Jalen Hurts gets both of his game plans going, which is both running the ball and throwing the ball. If Belichick can take one thing away from Jalen Hurts, let's say you take away the passing game, and let's say you take away the running game and make him pass from the pocket, I do believe we can win that game. But if you give him both, if he can run and pass, then I'll be realistic with you. The Eagles are going to steamroll over the Patriots. So it all comes down to defensive game plan.
Yeah. Give me the Eagles. Give me the Eagles rolling in this one. And
rolling,
we'll get to the Puma bet section in this. Oh, yeah. Jay, we've been talking about this, for the last couple of weeks, and you've made it a point to bring it up every time with our boy Freddie Hercules, Hercules 2424.
And it's Tom Brady Day.
How bad, which is fine, but you guys are also become the Dallas Cowboys. So let's stop this with all the tribute videos of Tom Brady. You get like New England booed him out of friggin' Foxborough 2 years ago, but now we're gonna have like the Tom Brady suck fest. Anyways,
can I make a point of that real quick, because it's a good point. Like you brought up the fact that the Patriots the last week or so have been posting every single day on social media about Tom Brady. Look at how great Tom Brady was. This is Tom Brady when he got drafted. This is Tom Brady in 2001. And I truly believe that Robert Kraft is making this hard pivot from selling a brand and a franchise to fans that was all about winning, to a brand and a franchise that relies on the past to sell tickets. You feel me? This is the Jerry Jones playbook of selling tickets. You can't sell winning now, so let's sell the past when we used to win. Remember those good times we had back in 2006 and 2004? Well, here's some more pictures and videos of that. Enjoy this content and come buy some more tickets. So, I mean, it's a sad state of affairs where we're at. We were, every single Patriots fan on the planet thought Bill Belichick was going to be able to just reel off another couple of Super Bowls after Tom Brady left, because it was the system, as people say. But I digress.
Anyways, back to game preview. Eagles are going to roll in this one. You want to know why they're going to roll? Because they're going to have their way with this sieve of an offensive line that's probably going to get Mac Jones killed this year at some point. Hassan Reddick is probably going to start his – yeah, exactly. You're going to have crying Mac Jones out there. But you're going to have, Hassan Reddick possibly start his Defensive Player of the Year campaign on the road in Foxborough. I think he's going to have a day. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended the day with 2.5 sacks. They're definitely going to get after it. I mean, really, Jay, like outside of Ramondre Stevenson, and I get it, like this offense is going to be quantum leap compared to Pop Warner offense that Joe Judge and Matt Patricia were trying to run. I mean, outside of Stevenson, like what is the big threat at the receiver position? You have Juju Smith-Schuster, whose knee is held on by scotch tape and popsicle sticks. You have Tyquan Thornton. He's starting on IR again. He's on injured reserve.
Yeah. Devontae Parker, his hamstring, if they can stay intact.
Oh, yeah. Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker. Oh, I had front row seats to the Devontae Parker soft tissue injuries
when he was
with the Dolphins. Oh, yeah. Death taxes and Devontae having a hamstring issue. And then was it Kendrick Bourne?
Bourne, yep.
That's so really it.
The way it's going to pan out is Kendrick Bourne and Juju Smith-Schuster are going to be essentially the over the middle slot receivers, right? They're the ones that are going to run the 5-yard outs in and out over the middle. Devontae Parker, in theory, is going to be our deep run hitter, right? I don't understand how that's possible, but that's what they envision him to be. You've got Mike Gesicki, and then you got Hunter Henry running the two tight end offense that Bill O'Brien runs. And then in the backfield, you've got Ezekiel Elliott, you've got Ramondre Stevenson, and that's really about it for the running back position. They're really thin there. They might bring up J.J. Taylor from the practice squad, but ultimately, there's another kid by the name of DeMario Pop Douglas. I'm sure you've heard his name quite a bit. He's a 6th rounder that's been shown out in training camp. He could be the breakout star of the season. So all those guys, keep an eye on them. And then one last guy by the name of Kayshon Boutte. he's an interesting cat because Kayshawn was somebody that was supposed to be a first-round pick out of LSU, prototypical wide receiver U kid, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. This kid was supposed to be next, right? However, he got some issues with some trouble on campus. His draft stock plummeted. He went in the 4th, 5th round of the Patriots. And from what I understand, he's starting to come alive late now in training camp. The first couple of weeks were rough for him, and he had some issues conforming, getting in line, if that makes sense. But keep an eye on him as well, because now it looks like he's starting to get in the flow of things. And you have this next crop of wide receivers that are supposedly going to, Tyquan Thornton is supposed to be a young receiver, but it's going to be more along the lines of Kayshon Boutte and Damari Pop Douglas.
Yeah. And the other key to this game for the Eagles to roll in this one, even though they lost Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon to head coaching jobs to Indianapolis and Arizona, respectively, Jalen Hurts is still going to be able to run the football. And we saw what happened, with this Patriots team against running quarterbacks, a la just go back to week 3 or 4 Monday Night Football, where Justin Fields had himself a day on the ground. He had like 100 rushing yards, I believe, and I think like 2 scores on the ground himself. So I think he's going to be able to run with the football. I think they're going to roll in this one. And from a betting perspective, the Pats are 1-6 against the spread versus top 10 passing offenses. So lay the 4 with the Eagles.
But do you want to take into account that it's Tom Brady night and that's going to give him a boost?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Tom Brady running them out of the tunnel, like, no. American flag in hand, running out of the tunnel with the team.
That's your... I'm going to keep it PG for YouTube. That is your dream of him running out there with the American flag and the Screaming Eagle.
Yes.
But that's not going to happen. It's going to be him and Kim Kardashian in the booth with Meek Mill and friggin' Robert Kraft sucking down a couple of tequilas on the rocks.
Puma, I think I'm in a better spot with the Patriots because, like, obviously I picked them to win this game, which I never thought I would, and it just dawned on me that, like, looking through some of these media packages that I put together last year, I was in a bad spot with the Patriots. Like, if you look, I'm looking through these slides and I'm like, wow, I just thought the absolute worst of the Patriots last year. So I picked the
get ready, Jay. It's going to be the same thing. So
no. Wait for this last slide though. This is the one that gets me every time.
Chess, not checkers, right? Chess, not checkers. Below the cloud. Gotta love it.
But yeah, I was just looking through that and I was like, yeah, I used to really hate the Patriots last year. Hopefully I have a better relationship with them this year, We are one. We are simpatico.
We're simpatico. I hope for your sake, dear simpatico.
We were watching the game together on Sunday, so if I have to go outside and throw something, then I'm not simpatico anymore.
I got you. Can't wait. Tara and I can't wait. It's gonna be great.
All right. Dolphins versus Chargers. Your boys flying out to LA to take on Justin Herbert and the Chargers, bro. What do you got going in this game?
So this game's going to be interesting. It's probably going to be, one game of the week. And I know that's a high bar to set for week 1, but the over-under right now is 50.5 or 51, depending on what sportsbook you're looking at. Chargers are laying 3 points at home, but call me the homer. I'm going to go with the Dolphins here. And the reason why I'm going to go with the Fins is it's a second year in this Mike McDaniel offense. And, you heard the end of last year and even like through training camp, Tyreek Hill was saying like, yeah, we were learning the offense on the fly. Now we actually have another year with this under our belt. We're actually getting this and it's starting to click.
He said that?
He said that at the start of training camp this year, the offense is really starting to gel and come together for him because now they have a better understanding of it. Jalen Waddle's going into this game. He missed, a couple of preseason games with an abdomen issue. He took like a hard fall at practice one day, but it sounds like he's going to be good to go. Devon Achane is going to be good to go in this matchup as well too, which is huge because the Dolphins put Jeff Wilson on IR. So it's really just Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane in the running back position here. And I really want to see what this Vic Fangio defense is going to look like compared to what Justin Herbert and Kellen Moore and Brandon Staley are going to try to run because, they brought in Kellen Moore to air it out. They heard everybody bitching and moaning about Joe Lombardi being super conservative and keeping everything underneath. And they should really, cut Justin Herbert loose. We're going to find out. I mean, I understand that Jalen Ramsey is going to be out. He's on short-term IR with a knee issue, something that happened during training camp. But, I think Vic Fangio is going to be their ace in the hole with the defense here. Xavier Howard, off-field issues aside, is still one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, in my opinion. I think, you're going to see a lot of dynamic quarterback matchups and blitz packages with Howard. And I want to see what they're going to do with, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, or even Quentin Johnston, the kid out of TCU, the big body receiver that they took in the draft. I expect the Dolphins to win here. So, I'm not really touching the over. I feel like the number's about right. If I had it, I probably would lean to the under a little bit, but I'm going to take the 3 points with the Dolphins here. It's not one of my best bets today on this slate, but give me the Dolphins winning on the road.
Yeah, I got the Dolphins winning as well. But before we get to my points, I want to ask you, like, what's the ceiling for the Dolphins this year, right? Because, like, ultimately, we talked about last year they had high expectations. They started out hot. The first 4 weeks were like, whoa, Tua's MVP. How far can this team go? They look very dynamic. This year, and obviously health is a big concern here, but if he was to stay healthy and you're year 2 in this offense, and like Tyreek said, you guys you have a better understanding of this offense. Are we crazy to say Super Bowl like expectations if everybody is kind of healthy on the field the whole year?
I mean, people think I'm saying it tongue in cheek that Tua is going to be MVP and the Dolphins are going to go to the Super Bowl. I'm 100% legit in this prediction here. I have the Dolphins going to the Super Bowl, and I have Tua winning MVP, which is, I know, crazy talk, but considering everything going into this, I think Tua is, another year under this offense with Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel knows what buttons to push and get this offense going here. It's really just going to come down to, obviously, Tua's health. Like, that's the big, wild card in this whole situation. But, you look at what he's been doing in the offseason, and, whether or not you're Ryan Clark trying to be funny on NFL Live saying
he was
sitting at the ice cream stand. But, like, the fact of the matter is, and I'm saying this as the guy that was not high on Tua coming to the Dolphins in the draft, and I've done a complete 180 on this kid. He's been putting that work in. He's been putting on that muscle mass. He's been, call it comedy hour. He's been learning how to fall, and it's starting to show on the field where, he'll do the rollout to take some of the momentum off. So it's not going to be a big issue. So definitely, like, the division for me, like, wild card. Yeah, obviously they met my expectation last year, but I think that winning the AFC East is definitely, where my bar is right now. And then obviously, like I said, like, I'm 100% serious. I think this is a Super Bowl caliber team. I think they could win the Super Bowl. And I think Tua has everything in him to be an MVP. So put me on the board. Super Bowl, Tua MVP.
I'm right there with you. I think very highly of the Dolphins this year. So, you've touched on that really well. I just want to turn my attention to the Chargers real quick, just because, I've been very down on the Chargers ever since last year's playoff game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, where they went up 27-0. And then Jaguars came rolling back, and essentially winning that game. And I've said this many times to you in the offseason, I saw the same, deer in the headlights face on Justin Herbert's face, like that I saw on Matt Ryan's face in that Super Bowl where he was down 28-3 and he couldn't do anything to stop Tom Brady in that comeback, right? Like, great players, great quarterbacks in those situations have to take command of the game, make a play, and essentially win the game. And Justin Herbert wasn't able to do it. So, it's a concern just because this was one of his biggest knocks coming out of Oregon, and now you're seeing it kind of formulate in the NFL. Hopefully this year, maybe he grows a little more confident in who he is, maybe becomes a better leader, maybe become more, with his offense can help open things up as well. But I really want to see Justin Herbert take the next step. Now, in regards to the offense itself, I think they're going to be dynamite. Like, I think, like, you're going to see, Justin Herbert throw up crazy numbers. You're going to see, highlight fancy football numbers. So, you'll have all that, but the foundation and what they're really made of is still going to be lacking just because of who Justin Herbert is, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Also, the fact that they were god awful at stopping the run. So if Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, who was just coming off of the injured list, essentially at Dolphins training camp, if they're able to run wild on this defense that Brandon Staley is apparently a defensive genius, and they still can't stop the run 3 years into his tenure, like, that's a huge freaking problem.
Do you think this is his last year? Because we thought it was gonna be his last year.
Oh, I think so. I think so. I mean, honestly, this would have been his last year if Spanos actually wanted to open up the wallet. And
well, that's the thing, though. If they're gonna open the wallet up this past year, then why would they open up this year?
Well, this kind of gets to my theory on, like, what they're doing in Washington with Eric Bieniemy. Like, I think Ron Rivera's on borrowed time up there. So this is a way to, as bad as it sounds,
okay,
like, you're going to backdoor Eric Bieniemy to be the head coach for the Washington football team, or Commanders or Commies, whatever you want to call them. I think this is a backdoor attempt to get Kellen Moore into a head coaching gig. If, let's say, the Chargers don't meet expectations again this season, even after opening up the offense, like, they're going to have to make a change. Like, why not promote the guy that you hire to be the offensive coordinator to be your new head coach?
Yeah, makes sense. All right, Puma, Monday Night Football. The Buffalo Bills travel down to take on the New York Jets, who, from everything I've seen and heard, are basically like the favorites to win the Super Bowl. Like, they're basically, let's not even play a season. They've basically won it all, right? The hoopla with Aaron Rodgers, the hard knocks. Like, every single time we turn around, the New York Jets are talking about something. So, is this going to be more hype or actual substance for the Jets? And we'll find out very quick on Monday Night Football.
We're going to find out real quick. So the over-under on this game it's actually kind of low. I thought it was going to be higher. It's 46.5. The spread is Bills -2.5. I feel like that might have come crashing down a little bit with the news of Von Miller being on the PUP list. So he's not going to be active for this game. He's going to be out 4 games. The Bills are kind of interesting, Jay, because the same day they put Von Miller on the PUP list, they also traded Boogie Basham away. So, like, it's really on the defensive line. It's Gregory Rousseau and Ed Oliver. And granted, the big liability still, in my opinion, for the New York Jets is going to, either tank or keep this season afloat, is whether or not this offensive line for the New York Jets is going to play. And, I know Mekhi Becton, made headlines for actually getting the starting job. Well, I hope you would get the starting job if you were like the, high first round pick coming out of Louisville a couple of years ago. I know you had the weight issues and, the knee problem, but I mean, you should be still getting the starting job. Elijah Vera Tucker, is he going to be back to his normal self coming off the knee injury? Is Dwayne Brown with the shoulder issue going to be back? So, like, this offensive line is still a big question mark. They've made all the splashy signings of Dalvin Cook, which to me was signaling that maybe Breece Hall is not ready for a full workload here. So I think you're going to see the Jets run the ball a lot, despite all the fireworks of Garrett Wilson and everything going on. I mean, just look at the last couple of years of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. They tended to run the football a lot, and a couple of times when they were losing games last year, Aaron Rodgers was questioning why they weren't running the ball more with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. So expect them to run a little bit more than what some people are thinking here. The Bills, for me, like, it's going to come down to what this defense is going to do. I mean, they lost, Trey Edmonds in free agency. Like I said, Von Miller is on the PUP list. And when he was out of that lineup, I mean, Gregory Rousseau was almost like, missing person with his defensive production. So is he going to make a big leap? What is this defense going to do in general without Leslie Frazier there? But all that being said, Jay, I still have the Bills winning this game. I just have a little bit more faith with, my boy Josh Allen, and call that, bias, whatever. Josh Allen to me is still one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL right now. It's going to be another year under this system that, they're trying to run with Ken Dorsey, who filled in after Brian Daboll left. It sounds like they're all on the same page and singing Kumbaya with Stephon Diggs, who to me is still one of the top wide receivers in the NFL as well. So, I mean, give me the Bills to win. It's gonna be close. Like, I have them winning by a field goal, so clearly I have the Bills covering the 2.5. But the over/under seems about right to me, so I kind of lean under. But give me the Bills to win outright in this game.
Yeah, I'll take the Bills to win as well. The only concern I have really is, we talked about how the Jets have offensive line issues, but the Bills have some offensive line issues as well, right? I mean, they're not going into it like with a stout line. So, coupled out the fact that the Jets have the deepest defensive line, like we're talking like 10 people that can rotate on defensive line and get off the quarterback. I mean, if the Jets are going to win, it's going to be through that defensive line, just absolutely annihilating the offensive line. Now, the Bills themselves, the outlook for the year, man, like I expect big things, man. Like, I really do. I think this is like the last little sliver of open window for that Super Bowl run for these guys. Like, if they don't walk through it and win the Super Bowl, and if they start out, let's say 1-2 or 0-4, like, I truly believe this thing can implode. We're like one bad stretch away from all this coming apart. Stephon Diggs says he's happy now, but do I really believe him? No. Now you got Sean McDermott calling the defensive plays, which is good, but I mean, how much more responsibility can you take on game day when you're now calling defensive plays and managing a game, right? So that's some things you kind of keep an eye on. On the Jet side, man, like the hype is unreal, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen this level of hype in a long time. And it's funny because the Jets aren't dispersing it. They're actually like welcoming it. They're talking shit. They're like getting out in front of this, and like I feel like they themselves are kind of hyping it up as well. So, if they can back it up, wonderful. That'd be great. Go out there and throw 50 touchdowns and win a Super Bowl. And Aaron Rodgers is, could you imagine the hoopla and the hype once Aaron Rodgers wins in New York, right? But if you don't, I do believe this thing could become very, very hairy, because Aaron Rodgers is not the type of guy that takes, say, hey, we're on this together approach. When it's sinking, he's pointing fingers, right? He's the one that's saying, it's not me, it's you over there, kind of thing. So that's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yep. And there's also rumblings too. I don't know how much stock you put into it, but like the Jets are apparently players and trying to get Mike Evans out of Tampa Bay up there. I mean, again, like I feel like they're going to run the football a lot more than what people are expecting. So now you're going to have like Garrett Wilson and Mike Evans sitting up there, just looking around, waiting for targets to come their way. But Jay, I was also thinking about this too, like for the Bills. You're right. I'm with you. Like this is the last bastion, the last dance of punching through and winning that championship. But I also feel like last year, granted, like, Von Miller going out was a huge problem on this defense. But I feel like they're also pressing the entire year because of how lofty the expectations were going into last season. Whereas now, like short of like the Stephon Diggs drama at training camp, like they really haven't said a whole lot about Buffalo. Like to your point, the Jets have sucked all the air out of the room throughout the league. Like it's Super Bowl or bust for this team. They have the third best odds to win the NFL, the championship on DraftKings and FanDuel and probably whatever other sports book that you're looking at here. But I think the Bills are going to be, they're going to be right there contending as well too for the Super Bowl. I still have hope for that team. But it's definitely interesting to see the change in dynamic from last year compared to this year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, let's move on to the segment that is sweeping the nation. The segment that is, well, actually, you had a great weekend. You were like 3-0, right? Weren't you like crushing it on college football games?
14-9 on the weekend. Yesterday was a 3-0 run. The under 39.5 in Rutgers Northwestern, over 55.5 in the Florida State LSU game, and then Florida State over 27.5 team total. 3-0 yesterday, baby. Let's go.
I'm just saying,
units.
Even DraftKings and FanDuel that pays a bunch of monies to like a bunch of these TV personalities that give you these insights aren't that good, right? I mean, our boy Puma Bets over here is just making you money. I don't know why you're not taking a second mortgage out right now and putting it on the Puma Bets, right?
Because the better half is keeping me in check. With
I'm talking to the viewers. The viewers need to listen to the segment, right? Write all this information down, right? Go to the bank tomorrow, get a second mortgage out, and put it on the Puma Bets.
Puma Bets. So this week for Puma Bets, Jay, it's still early. I'm also kind of kicking myself on missing the boat on some of these plays. But right now for Puma Bets, play number one, we have the Seattle Seahawks with the LA Rams. The Rams are going up to the Emerald City. They're going up to the land of the 12s to face the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks are home favorites, laying 5.5 points. I'm going to lay all 5.5 points with the Seattle Seahawks. The reason why, Jay, is there's been rumblings coming out of training camp for the LA Rams about how Cooper Kupp's hamstring issue, he's flying to Minnesota to see some specialists to see what the root cause of the issue is. Like, we're going to get a Mr. Miyagi approach to heal this hamstring of Cooper Kupp. I'm not buying it. I think Sean McVay is trying to redefine the definition of what day-to-day is, because this sounds more week to week. And if Cooper Kupp's not there, I mean, this is really just the Tyler Higbee show, Tutu Atwell, and Van Jefferson show. And it probably doesn't help anything that Matthew Stafford's wife a couple of weeks ago was saying that Stafford is having a hard time connecting with his younger teammates. I don't know how into this season Matthew Stafford's in. I mean, last year he was concussed twice, but nobody talks about him getting concussed twice. And then he also had an elbow injury going into last year too. So I'm going to lay the 5.5 points with the Seattle Seahawks. My second play of the week one slate is the Washington Commanders. They're taking on the Arizona Cardinals on Caleb watch, Caleb Williams watch, tank for Caleb, whatever the slogan is. They are traveling up to Ashburn, Virginia, to face the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are 7-point favorites, and I'm going to lay all 7 points with the Commies too, which is a bit, horrifying because it's the Washington Commanders. But this offense, I think, is going to open up a lot more with Eric Bieniemy compared to what Scott Turner was trying to do. Sam Howell, I was high on him going into this season after what we saw last year, the one start he had against the Eagles in Week 17. Jay, you can also attest to this when he came out of North Carolina. Like, the dude is athletic. He's a big guy, and he's got a big arm. So I think he's going to be able to spread the ball around. He's going to be able to get Terry McLaurin involved, even though, the captain, Terry McLaurin, is dealing with a turf toe injury. But I think Jahan Dotson is going to have a big year this year. I think it's all going to start on Week 1 against the Cardinals. The defense for Washington should eat against this Cardinals team that's actually, trying to tank without saying they're tanking. So I'm going to lay the 7 points with the Commanders as well, too. And lastly, we already hit on the segment, but I'm laying the 4 points with the Eagles. Like, that's it.
No, money line, Patriots money line. Let's go.
Laying the 4. Like I said, New England is 1-6 against the spread against teams with top 10 offenses. Now, one that I am absolutely kicking myself for missing out on was Tennessee plus 3.5 against the New Orleans Saints. If there's probably going to be a live betting opportunity where you can probably get the 3.5 with Tennessee. I'm not going to bet this at 3 and possibly get a push. But Mike Vrabel is insane against the spread. I think he's like 20-9 against the spread when the spread is 3 points or more. The offense. Let me rephrase that. The roster compared, between the Saints and Tennessee, obviously is going to lead the Saints side of things. But the coaching edge is going to go with Mike Vrabel. So if it gets to 3.5, I'm going to jump on that. But right now, the only Puma bets I got: Seahawks -5, 5.5, I should say, Eagles -4, and the Commies, the Commanders, the Commandos, the football team, under new ownership, by the way, too, laying the 7 points.
Sold out for the first game, right?
Sold out for the first game. It's actually going to be mostly all of their fans this time. Now, whether or not the septic system at FedEx Field is going to work, or we're going to have piss literally raining on people, is a different discussion. But the sentiment's high going into this year. They sold out the stadium. Give me the Commies winning by more than 7 points.
Wow. I know I'm putting on a little bit of a spot here, but have you looked forward to any of the college football bets you're looking for next week? Are you looking forward towards, what's your game plan going into that Texas versus Alabama game, which is a big one next week? What's your CFP thoughts?
I mean, right now, I'm going to look at the spread a little bit more when we get off of here. But last I looked, Texas was getting 7.5 points. Granted, it's on the road going into Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
We said it all the time. Like, if Quentin Ewers wasn't hurt, they would have won that game outright. I might take the 7.5 points. The one that's intriguing to me right now is, Kansas versus Illinois. They're going to be at home in Kansas. Jalen Daniels should be actually a go. He sat out last week with an injury. Sam Bean, Bean. He picked up the slack for Kansas as QB1. But Daniels just brings a whole different dynamic to that offense. So they're a 3-point favorite. I might take that. I got to look a little bit more into it. Another good game is actually going to be Ole Miss versus Tulane. Ole Miss is a 6-point favorite against Tulane, which is one of the better teams in the AAC. So that's going to be a good game to watch, in my opinion. I don't really have a read on that game yet, but Jackson Dart looked good in his Week 1 start for Ole Miss. So I might lay this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart's the old USC quarterback, right?
I believe so. Yeah, he transferred.
Okay, cool.
He was I think he transferred last year. And then some other quarterback transferred out, but Jackson Dart beat him out for the QB1 job.
And we'll be remiss if we didn't discuss the big headline out of Week 1 for college football. Deion Primetime Sanders takes his 1-11 Colorado Buffaloes, or Buffs, whatever they call them, into TCU and beat the national runner-up for last year. Kind of shocking, not gonna lie to you, Puma. We've talked about this a little bit offline, but it is. I think it's time to start looking at Coach Prime as a very good coach. I know for the most part, I believed he was just a good recruiter. I thought he was a hype man. I thought he was somebody that would sell a dream to a kid to come to his school, and then from there, the hype and the name will get him to the NFL, right? But I think watching that game against TCU, I started seeing that Coach Prime is a good coach, man. Like some of the discipline, some of the way that he taught his players how to play, you can see it, right? And I was bringing this example up to you earlier today. There's a player for TCU that ran a flat route with the running back for a touchdown. That's where Travis Hunter basically intercepted the football. Like you can just see the discipline in the cornerback's eyes. They're playing good, sound football. And I think Coach Prime, like I'm not like fully bought into him just yet, but I do believe if he can get past Oregon and USC in a couple of weeks, we'll really know what this team is all about then. Like it's a little inconclusive right now for me, but that matchup with Oregon in a couple of weeks is going to be the big one, and then USC right after that.
Yeah, I mean that was a bad read on me. I laid the 20.5 points with TCU, and
we all did. Everybody did. Right?
I learned rather quickly in that game that there was no hope for the 20.5. But was it a great coaching job by Deion Sanders? Absolutely. The roster, yes. They just have a couple of dudes, and that's sometimes that's all you need in college football. It's a couple of dudes. But like you're acting like you won the national championship.
I know,
TCU offensively was 4 yards short of what your production was. It was going to come down towards the end of who was going to cough up the big mistake, which, by the way, that TCU quarterback was brutal in that game. It did not help the cause.
He cost him the game. He did cost him the game, yeah.
Now, do I buy Colorado enough to go into like looking at the spread this week and see that they were steamed up from Colorado plus 7.5 at home against Nebraska to them now being a 5-point favorite at Circa? Like, no, you know what? Like, I'm not going to, granted it's Matt Rule and it's Nebraska. I mean, you could speak a little bit more towards like Nebraska in the Big Ten, but like, I want to see more of it before I start buying into Colorado, especially with they've been that spread. That team has been taking on more action than all 32 teams in the NFL for week 1. That to me, that is insane. Great performance, a little bit of an overreaction on my part. Like you said, like I want to see more. I want to see what happens this week at home against Nebraska and then Oregon. I mean, the over-under in that USC game better be 82 because like defense is definitely going to be optional in that game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see what Matt Rule is going to bring to the table this week. Nebraska lost to Minnesota on opening night, and they lost in the same fashion they've been losing for the past couple of years, just like late mistakes that lead to heartbreaking losses. Same thing happened in week 1 for Nebraska. They were driving to try to win the game. Quarterback throws an interception, game over, right? So I want to see if Matt Rule can outcoach, Deion Sanders, right? Matt Rule has a background of the NFL as well. He spent 3 years coaching with the Panthers. So in theory, he should have better coaching chops than Deion Sanders. Now, talent-wise, roster-wise, I'm not going to lie to you. I do believe that the Colorado Buffs, the Buffs?
It's Buffaloes. Buffs is the nickname. Yeah.
The Buffaloes have the better roster over the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Like I'm watching that Nebraska team and I'm like, yo, this is slow. Like they don't look like they like put it this way. Matt Rule hasn't gone to the portal and done all what Deion Sanders has done. So his team is much slower than the Colorado Buffaloes will be. So if the Nebraska's going to win, it's going to come down to simply out coaching Coach Prime. And at this point, I don't think that's going to happen. So like, I'm kind of like buying the hype a little bit. Truthfully, I'm not going to lie to you, but I want to see how this week plays out.
Yeah. I want to see, let's see what happens with, they go up against the Oregons of the world and USC. Yeah. But I'll tell you this much, like if it gets to like, Colorado laying 7 or 7.5, like I might take Nebraska just out of principle, like, and just roll the dice there. Jay, I want to ask you a question because,
yes, sir.
You're the Ohio State guy.
Let's go Buckeyes.
Go Buckeyes. They kind of had, like, correct me if I'm wrong, they kind of had an underwhelming performance this week, right? And who they play? Like
Indiana.
Yeah. Like, talk to me, Goose. What happened?
Well, we've been saying this for a while now. You're really starting to see Ryan Day's deficiencies as a recruiter come into play now, right? Up until last year, he was really, really riding it high with some of the Urban Meyer recruiting classes, right? I've brought this up to you many times before. Part of the reason we're having issues now is because we don't have great defensive stud players, and we don't have those Nick Bosa's or Joey Bosa's or Chase Youngs or Jeff Okuda's, all those great recruits that Urban Meyer brought in. And what you saw on the field on Saturday was basically a straight shot at the recruiting prowess of Ryan Day. Our quarterback looks like he's an average quarterback. He looks like he's a AJ McCarron, Greg McElroy, at best Mac Jones with all the talent around him and the perfect line and everything else type of quarterback. We don't have that stud like Quinn Ewers is, or Caleb Williams is, or what CJ Stroud was last year, or Justin Fields the year before that. So you're starting to see quite the regression in my mind for the Ohio State program. That's a tough word for me to say, just because we think of ourselves as a team that is always going to win 11, 12 games, vie for the national championship. But I truly am fearing what's going to happen in a couple of weeks in Notre Dame. Like we have another cupcake this week, Youngstown State, so we can tune up. But then a couple of weeks, we got to travel to South Bend, Indiana. Like we got to go play Notre Dame at home, and those guys look good this year. Like Sam Hartman, or wherever that kid is from Wake Forest that transferred up there. He's lighting people up, and they look like they have a formidable offense now to go along with a good defense. So I'm scared of what's going to happen in Notre Dame now. Looking down the line, Penn State, what else? Michigan, all these teams down the line. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. Like, unless this thing turns around quickly, I think we're gonna have a couple losses on our schedule this year. And if that's the case, then Ryan Day's got to go. But we're starting to see some of the issues coming up now with the recruiting or lack of recruiting from his side.
Yeah, because I saw a quote. I kind of had a laugh. Tom Fernelli brought this up on Twitter of CBS of how Ryan Day said he wanted to be more old school, and to a lot of people that was like, all right, we're going to run the football more, but like even running the football was a bit of an adventure on Saturday. So like like you said, like if you don't right the ship, like that Notre Dame game is going to be very, very interesting, on the road. So what happens there? And then the other question, Jay, not really a question for me. Like what stood out this week, besides like the Ohio State thing, and then obviously like Colorado is sucking all the air out of the room, was North Carolina might actually have a defense. So the ACC might actually have like three really good teams between Clemson, North Carolina, and Florida State.
Florida State might be the best team in the country right now, right?
Absolutely tying one on against LSU last night. But like North Carolina with Drake May might actually have a defense, and then Florida State just looked freaking fantastic yesterday. So what are your thoughts? Like the ACC, they get new members in, and now it's like a piñata party.
Well, there's still rumblings that Clemson and FSU are going to make a jump to the Big Ten. Like that's still in play. Like wouldn't be shocked if that's something that happens in the next year or so. But if it is the last couple of years for the ACC, what a way to go out, right? Like you've got potentially three powerhouse teams in the ACC alone. Clemson's always going to be there with their talented roster. Obviously, like you said, North Carolina might have a defense, and obviously Drake May and Mac Brown, those guys are going to throw up a bunch of points every week. But the Florida State shocker last night was surprising to me, because LSU is a blue blood. Like they get the recruits, they get the faster players, they get the bigger players. But last night, Florida State was the faster and bigger team, which was shocking to me. Like Florida State pushed around an LSU team for like basically 4 quarters straight, and then they just blew them out at the end of the game. So it's kind of surprising. And Brian Kelly had his post game press conference where he said, "We're not the team that we thought we were." And I'm like, bro, like that's on you, man. You're basically calling out your own deficiencies. You know what I'm saying? You're the one that put this team together. So I want to see, and I was telling you this last night, like, I don't want to overreact, because we will definitely know more about Florida State as we find out more information and get more context in LSU. So let's say LSU goes on and doesn't lose for the rest of the year, win the SEC and go to the national championship, then hell, FSU is an amazing team, right? But if LSU has 3-4 losses and they're not the best, then like it has more context about who Florida State is.
I mean, but dude, like those corners got roasted, and some of those guys, like that secondary, they weren't big. Like, Kayvon Johnson, or if I'm butchering his name, like forgive me, the transfer out of Michigan State. I mean, that dude, whenever like 21 was on 4, the ball was going to 4. Like he just had like a good, height advantage against pretty much everybody in that secondary. Jordan Travis had, plenty of time in that pocket. Whenever they tried to put him on a spy on him, he's like, okay, I'll just sit back here and throw for 4 touchdowns. And as someone that had the over in this game, and was sweating the over out more than the under 39.5 in Rutgers Northwestern. I mean, thank God for garbage time, because that over was on life support. Like I needed one more point. There was 4 minutes left in the game. I mean, thank God for that garbage time TD by LSU. But I mean,
Imagine if you lost that bet by 0.5.
Oh, bro. Oh, I was
Oh,
so mad.
yikes.
But I mean, it was a great game, probably one of the better games of the weekend. So it's definitely
How was your first full week of like watching and kind of like being engaged with college football?
I thought it was great. It was a good
Yeah.
time. It was really interesting. The clock rule. It was kind of interesting getting behind it because yeah, like the clock is running, but like games are still 4 hours long because they're packing in like 55 commercials in each game. So I don't really get the point in that. I hope like Brian Kelly says, I hope you sold a lot of commercials on ESPN.
Yeah.
But no, it's definitely a fun time. I'm thoroughly enjoying college football up until this point. I mean, right now I have the under 55.5 in Duke Clemson, and
Yeah.
it looks pretty good right now. But I mean,
Well,
you
let's
got a
look at
couple of great matchups this weekend.
Yeah, let's look at the week 2 schedule real quick while we have a couple minutes here. So we've got the Murray State Louisville game. That's all right. Let's see, Illinois Kansas. We were talking about that earlier. That'll be a fun game to watch.
Yep.
Let's see, Ball State. No. Notre Dame, NC State. This could be an interesting matchup. Obviously, NC State's not the best this year, but it could be a
Utah
one of those
Baylor.
games.
Like, what's going to go on with Cam Rising? Is he coming back? Especially
Yeah.
with Baylor losing, getting upset over the weekend too.
What else we
Obviously
got here?
Nebraska,
That's gonna be the
Colorado.
big- Yeah. Holy Cross, Boston College. You see, BC lost the other day. Oh my god,
Yeah.
dude! They
Yeah.
paid somebody $1.1 million to come in and beat their ass. That's hilarious to me.
Tulane USC is going to be a good game to watch. And
You
I'm
think
not
so?
Tulane Ole Miss, I should say.
Okay. All right. Let's see what else we got. UNLV versus Michigan, Texas A&M at
A&M
Miami.
Miami. Okay.
Speaking of which, you got to get in touch with Nicole and talk to her about Texas A&M because she's living in Texas now, and she's like,
I already talked to her. Oh yeah.
She's like Aggie for life. She gig them and everything, and I'm like, oh wow,
Mhm.
that's quite the shock.
Yep.
All right, let's see. I mean, other than that, I think nothing really stands out to me. Let's see.
Appalachian State, North Carolina. Like, we're gonna find out, how good that defense is. Like, was that just South Carolina being bad, or is UNC's defense actually showing up now?
Here's a big one: Texas versus Alabama, dude. That's gonna be so much fun, dude. I can't
What's
wait for that.
Does it have the spread on there?
No, this is just a schedule. This is just a schedule. It's not the actual spread. What else? Grambling at LSU. I mean, other than that, that's really about it. Stanford at UC could be fun. Did you see Oregon put up 81 points?
Yeah, and then what was it? Oklahoma dropped 71 and had the head coach crying.
Made the head coach cry. Yeah. Oh, fun stuff, man. Fun stuff, Puma. I'm glad you're on board, man. You know what I'm saying? It took years, but you're on board now. Nicole's on board. Hopefully your wife will stop making fun of college football and get on board,
Hey, Rome, like I said, Rome wasn't built in a day. So she watched Rutgers Northwestern. So there is hope.
Okay. All right. There's hope for her. You want to plug it up and call it a day, bro?
All right. So this episode of the pod and previous episodes of the Pro Football Radio Podcast can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts at. YouTube as well too. On YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit that like button. Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave a 5-star review. Google Podcasts, be sure to leave a 5-star review as well too. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, Pro Football Radio Podcast, the Twitter machine at PFR Podcast. I'm on Twitter at Brando_Puma. The captain of the ship on the ones and the twos is Jay Chima at Jay Chima. The DMs are open. Hit us up for, throughout the season, throughout the week. You want to talk about football, you want to talk about college football, betting, let's go. DMs are open. And Jay, we I'd be remiss if I didn't do this for our boy.
Turn this down real quick.
Freddie Soliotis, you're fired.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Via con Dio.